Welcome to the May meeting of the Greater St. Louis Knitters Guild. I want to welcome everybody watching on YouTube channel that's not able to be here today, and I want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day tomorrow. So, if you don't have kids, we all have mothers, so there we go. The meeting is being recorded today, and it'll be available on YouTube within the week. So if someone, if you want to go back and watch, that's, are we able to do the program on the YouTube or?
Yeah.
Okay, so the program will also be recorded. And I want to share another quote by Stephanie Pearl McPhee to start the morning, or the afternoon. This is from At Knits and Meditations for Women Who Knit Too Much. And the first little quote is by, I don't think I've done this one before, but if I did, here you go again. Friedrich Nietzsche. He says, insanity in individuals is something rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. And then Stephanie goes on to say, a Knitters Guild is a staggering, incredible thing. It is a room filled with men and women who have in common one obsession. They are possessed enough by the manipulation of 2 pointy needles and some yarn to give up whole 3 evenings, not just to knit, but to talk about it. The first time you find yourself having a conversation about moss stitch with a group of people who aren't desperately trying to escape you, it's like coming home. So I said, I will join my local club or guild so that I can talk about knitting and still get invited to my friends' parties. I don't have any member news unless somebody has anything they want to share. If not, I want to give a brief report on the Midwest Fiber Festival. It was a great event. I want to thank Alice Kemner, who organized our guild's booth. We had several volunteers. I want to thank the volunteers who helped line yarn or just sit there and provide information to the people that were visiting our booth. Is there anybody that's here today that was at the Fiber Festival that isn't a member, or so we there we go. We got a Thank you. So we plan to do it again next year, and we were charging $5 a skein to wind yarn for people. Volunteers wound 38 skeins for a total of $190. So we did pretty good with the project. And I know there were 5 new members who signed up at the event. And I think that's all I have on the Fiber Fest, but it was good, and Heather's going to be doing that again next year, so we'll have a booth again. There's one new knit-in that I'm aware of. It's at the McClay branch of the St. Charles Library. They meet on the second Monday from 2 to 4. So if anybody needs the newest knit-along, list, it's in the newsletter. I don't have any other announcements, so we're going to go on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes from the April 8th meeting, which were in the May newsletter? The motion to accept the minutes.
I so move.
Mary Dale Bannister, second. Sue Holly. So minutes are approved. Treasurer's report. Are there any questions on the March newsletter? Or not newsletter. The March Treasurer's report that was in the May newsletter. And we will submit those for audit. Okay, we can go on to the other reports. So administrative, co-administrative VP, Michelle and Carol.
Would you like us to come up or speak over you?
Oh, come on up, because then you're on the microphone and they can hear you better. You can either hold it up.
Okay.
Whatever works.
Hello, everyone. How are you today?
They're good.
Okay, who's excited about being here in person?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, needles and yarn in hand. That's always a good thing. I'm Michelle Aarons. My co-part in crime is Carol Regan, and we are happy to be here, and our report includes something fun. Everybody like fun?
Yay.
Okay, so June 10th, we have a potluck. Who's excited about this? So potluck means everybody gets to bring a dish. So we hope that you will participate in the potluck if you can. We are going to have these really awesome cards presented when you drop off your food to set up. and it's going to be able for you to say what your dish is and who you are. So please look for this when you come for the potluck meeting so we can get every dish labeled, and that way when somebody goes, this was really delicious, they can seek you out and get the recipe, right? So that saves all that confusion about where did you get that dish, right? So we're going to have those cards presented and ready. And then we also have for you today a potluck volunteer list. So if you would please, before you leave today, if you would take a look at this and see if you're able to help set up or break down after the potluck is done. This does not require breaking down tables. This is just cleaning up, making sure everybody gets their dish back, that sort of thing. Okay? Sound fair? Yeah? Okay. All right, no dishes. We don't have to do dishes.
Ask them to bring serving dishes, their serving spoon. Hi, I'm Carol. If you don't mind, when you bring your dish, bring a serving spoon, or so we don't have to supply 100 serving spoons.
Yeah.
And what else were we going to talk about?
Tea and lemonade.
Tea and lemonade are going to be bought by Seven Sisters. They're going to bring that.
So you'll have beverages there.
Yes.
So,
And
okay.
water.
Yes, and water.
Is there anything else? Anyone have any questions?
Names on any dishes that aren't disposable, so they get back to the owner.
Good.
Good idea.
Yeah.
She suggested to put names on your dishes so we can return them to you.
Is the guild providing paper plates and plastic?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll take care of the plates and
You should put your
utensils.
list down here on my table.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes.
It's right here for you. Absolutely. You got us covered, Tony.
What?
Leading men.
Leading men. Oh my gosh, how could we forget? The leading men, our favorites, Steve and Andy, will be present at this potluck. I'm just saying, so make sure you stop by their display of yarn candy that they will have there for sure, right?
Yes.
So definitely stop by and see Steve and Andy. Also, we have members. New members? Anybody?
Those are new members.
My
So-
sister-in-law.
Oh, there's a new
Here
member.
we go.
My sister-in-law joined us
There you
today.
go.
She's in the back.
All right, great. Welcome, new members. We're really excited to have you all here. And thank you. This is our first time for announcing this, so if we've missed your name, please stand
We
up.
apologize.
And just, yeah. This is why two of us do this.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
when-
the left side of the brain, she's the right side. So together we'll figure this out.
So we have Tammy McGarry, Frances Packer, and my phone just locked me out. Just a second. Facial recognition happening? Maybe not. Hold on. Really? Ah, there we go. Mary Ellen Kelshmeyer? Kelsheimer? Thank you, Kelsheimer. So did we get everybody? Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Oh.
Okay, we're missing somebody.
today?
We're missing
Your
two.
name is
Joni Orwick.
Joni Orwick.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Liz Owen.
Liz Owens. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. Oh, one more?
The charity focus for the potluck, newborns in need.
Thank you very much. Yes. See, all this is in my head, but it never comes out the mouth. Charity focus for the potluck is newborns in need, so it's a baby shower thing. Okay? So if you'd like to participate and make a donation for that, keep that in mind. You can go to the newsletter, take a look at the baby blanket that's out there that we're all doing. So that's certainly an opportunity for you if you have that done. Okay? All right. Anything else?
Any other
Did I miss
questions?
anything? Is there anything I need to add?
Guests are welcome if they're accompanied by guild members.
Guests are welcome if they're accompanied by a guild member. How does
Knitting.
that work? Did that work out pretty well? Can you prompt me for this each month? That'd be great.
That's
What else do we need to talk?
That's okay.
Knitting Public Day.
Knit in
Oh.
public day. Gosh, there's
There
such a
is
list.
a Bobby knitting.
We didn't get that memo.
Yeah, no, we did. We did.
Oh, I didn't read it.
It fell between the gray matter. So it is knit in public day. Oh my gosh. So if you're in public, knit. And it's going to be at the potluck. so hey, that's about as
Starts at
public
9
as you can
o'clock.
get.
There is a lobby.
There is a lobby, and you know what? They have a beautiful walkway, and we saw about a dozen Canadian geese that escorted us right up to the door this
We
morning.
went prior to
So-
this. We went to check out the spaces.
We did. So there's a beautiful walkway, there are benches there, so feel free to come early and be able to just enjoy, hopefully, the beautiful weather that we're gonna have. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
So there's also in the newsletter, there's a long list of what newborns in need will take, in addition to the blankets. So, I mean, there's May, that's May. There's May. That's the one May provided. So there's a whole list of things.
A whole list of things in the newsletter
Yeah.
that, excuse me, the newborns can use. Please reference that if you have doubt about what to do. That's me, I'm indecision queen. So I need a list. Thank you. Okay, well, I guess that takes care of our dog and pony show. So thanks for
Who's
the
the dog
coming
and
out.
who's the pony?
We're not going there. So I hope you had a good time with our presentation. We hope to bring humor at every event.
Yeah.
Thank you very much and have a
We're
good
working
day.
on next month's skit. No.
Joanne, did you have anything for Yarn Shop News? Michelle, the only thing that I have for Seven Sisters is there's a color work Christmas stocking class.
There is, we're actually on the third class of the color work, and we will be having another one in September. We're currently doing a color work hat class, and we're getting all of our classes lined up for the summer. We took May off, pretty much, because graduations, schools, Mother's Day, everybody had enough on their plate. So we'll definitely get something out for you guys.
So check out the website, Martha, see what's going on. And check out they've got knit-ins there too, so if you want to come and knit, I know the first and third Thursday nights, there's a knit-in, so join us. The only other local yarn shop news, YarnCom is having a Mad Tea Party. It's Madeline Tosh Yarn. That's May 26th. They've also announced something called the Secret Pearl Society. It's limited to 75 members. I think it's $250 to join, but it includes meetups, stitch-alongs, quarterly collections. It's not necessarily marked just yarn, it's yarn or fiber or something to make something new or to, you know, continue something that you like to make. So that's something else you can find more information on their website. Let's see. Mary, did you have anything else?
Just a couple things, quick. I won't take too much of your time, just a couple quick things. We're up to 950 members to our Facebook group. So that's really good. Only 3% boys. So we need to work on that. Yeah, we need to, yeah, Jackie has most of us have male friends and some of them even knit, so if we can get them looking in, that would be great. We also, on YouTube, our YouTube channel has 250 subscribers. Now that doesn't count the people who just look at our videos that find it because they're searching for knitting or whatever they're searching for, but 250 people that thought we were so cool that they actually subscribed to our channel. I want to encourage everybody on, because we're also on, what's the? Instagram. We're also on Instagram, so if you're on Instagram or Facebook and you're cruising around and you see something really funny that's about yarn, please post it to one of our sites because that gets people's attention. They tag a friend, and the next thing you know, the friend joins and they start learning about the guild and our meetings and everything, and then they become members, maybe. Okay? So, and that's, other than that, we are still looking for people to help put together maybe a show that could, or a display that can be put up like in a library or moved to various places at different times. Cool thing is you only have to put it together once and we can use it in more than one place after that. So, if you're interested, let me know.
I just have a couple other things to add to the report. I get this thing on my head. The June newsletter deadline is May 26th. Try to get it in there before that because that is Memorial Day weekend, and I think Sarah would appreciate getting your Mostly it's the board members, but if you have something else, we did have several book reviews in the May newsletter, so be sure if you haven't looked at that to check those out. That's all I had to add. So Pam, we're going to have community service report.
Okay, I'm Pam Riley, and this is the community service. We have 112 hats back there, and we had a couple of blankets that are coming in for the, apparently for the November event, so I'll hold on to them. And Laura Ronte donated quite a bit of wonderful yarn, and some of it's going home with you guys, which is good. It'll come back as something. We have some Warm Up America squares back there. Does anybody know any place that, what?
Saks Library.
Saks Library? Who's out there? What? Okay, I'm gonna talk to you. Yeah, and there was somebody else that was asking about if there's assemblers. It was you, okay, yeah. And so we all need to cuddle back in the back corner, because we haven't gotten Warm Up America squares for a good while. So now we're getting them, and we got to figure out what to do with them. So
Saks will put them
but
together.
a beautiful knitting, by the way, by Ms. Porter. She's got them in bags and everything. So, any questions?
Education, Meg?
Good afternoon. My name is May Webster, one of the VPs of Education, and Susan Rushbach is in the back. Today's program is on blocking. It's also called dressing. It's something that a lot of people are afraid of, so we thought we'd show you what you can do with blocking. The next month we will not have a program. We'll have fun with potluck. And the month after that, in July, we're going to take a look at some of our charity groups that we donate to. So if you have somebody you know that appreciates our hats or scarves or baby items, let one of us know, and we can see if we can contact somebody to come in and share with you how they appreciate our things. Thank you.
I got a big mouth. So they always told me at work, I can hear you down the hall. Weird. Today we have 51 members and no visitors. So, yay members. All you mothers, happy Mother's Day. Joan I had 7 skeins of yarn to wind, and Joan graciously let me her setup. The first one took me 3 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh, this will be a full-time job. The next one, 5. Boop, 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 boop. So don't give up on those bad skeins. And I have 2 really good prizes and 2 okay prizes. So we're going to go with the okay ones first. Barb Keith. It's little tiny. It's this tiny little. And some chips.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's okay. And Cassie Day.
I got one last month, actually.
Okay, then give me a number.
27.
Alrighty. Oh, that's Barb Keith. Try again.
I was trying to 32.
Okay. Judy Haynes. You want to just pass this down to her?
I'll be glad to.
Thank you.
There you are.
So now for the really good prizes. This is a very wonderful prize donated by 7 sisters. Thank you, Michelle. And this is going to Liz Owens. And then yarn Yarntown donated this wonderful blocking supplies, and that's going to Laura Arante. And that's all I know. I'll bring it back.
Looks like that's a popular prize. We're gonna do show and share, but Lee is out of town, so unless somebody else wants to take pictures, any volunteers? I will take pictures. So when you come up to do your show and share, you can give me the little half sheet of paper so that I can record it on the Ravelry, on the put it on Ravelry, and then we also use it in the newsletter. But either I'll probably stand over in this area so that I can get a nice background behind you. So I'll take the sheet of paper, I'll take your picture, and we'll hope for the best. So I was gonna say Bambi better be showing her shawl because that's really pretty. So come on, make a line and show your stuff. Somebody's gonna leave that here. Oh, and I forgot, if anybody had a baby sweater that they did for the knit-along, if you want to get your sweater, and I'll take a group sweater, I know other people have already made some and turned them in, but if there are any people that want to take their sweater and, meet me in a corner someplace, we'll take your picture too.
No.
Just put it right here.
So this shawl is called Neptune's Horses, and a few of us in the Tuesday knitting group at the Wolf did it. And it basically has a feather and fan design. It was sort of oblong, and then this section did short rows to match this other side. So, and I used a unified gradient on this. So. Thank you. It hasn't been blocked yet, so this is its next go. Blocking.
Michelle's with you.
Neptune's Horses. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, this is a not normal show and share because you couldn't care less about the yarn and you couldn't care less about the project, but I did it. I actually did it. And I want you all to know there are at least half the members in this guild who deserve a real pat on the back for having put up with me for at least 10 years telling me, oh God, please, you can do it. You can. No, I can't. I will never do it. I will never have a project. And the ones who had to frog all my work for at least 5 years and put it back on the needles and start me off on the path again, you all deserve a big pat on the back. Some of you deserve a medal. Oh, well, I can do that.
All right, I'm wearing the Madeira Cow tee by Tamara Moots, and it's made out of Cascade Noble yarn. And it's a free pattern on Cascade, not on Ravelry. So. That's nice.
If that's it for show and share, I did get an alert on my phone that says there's going to be some bad weather coming through here, but I think it's starting to get dark, but I think shelter in place, we should be okay. So we're going to take about I can't tell what time it is, was it say
2:26.
So why don't we take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back, and then we'll do the program on blocking. And thank you, Michelle, for doing the photos.
This is a lace shawl. Lace shawls tend to look like this when you finish knitting them. This is blocking it. If you can see on this, you can't. There are pins in several different places holding this out so that it's going to be framed or, opened up a whole bunch. Blocking or dressing, the words need the same, is to even your tension. So if you have something in stockinette, if you have a sweater, it will even it out. If you have lace, it's going to open it up so you can see the holes. And it helps you to get the measurement that is suggested by your pattern. There is a difference between blocking natural and man-made fibers. Natural fibers have a good tendency to accept blocking by just wetting and drying. Man-made fibers do not. We started this one this morning, so I'm going to hold it up for you. This is a very plain shawl. It's all knit. There's no lace in it, so you're not going to see any holes. But basically, it's just been pinned out. Next picture, please. This is a picture of some of the supplies you would need. The first one is the mats, like this one that are underneath here. We also have mats that are smaller and have lines on them, so it's easier to line your things up. My next item here. If you don't have,
While you're showing us your supplies there on the table, could you turn the lights on just a minute and then turn them back down?
well, we'll leave them off then, because this is just for those in the back to get an idea. You want to turn them back on? So, the mats work well. You can put those anywhere. Mine are floor mats, inexpensive, but they work. I just put them on my table. Now, how many of you have a queen or a king size bed? I made a blanket for it. You're not going to block it on these mats. They're not, you have to have many, many of them. So some of the other ways is to put it on a series of towels on the bed. Make sure it's not out of water or filled with air. The floor, put down a sheet, you just lay it down there. You may get the floor a little wet, so don't worry about that. And you want to be able to put pins in it. So do not put it on a wood floor. The other one is you can just frame it out somewhere on something. Now, this is actually for weaving, but it gives you an idea. If you had these a little farther apart, you could put your points of a shawl on that. So you could put that on this. They have bigger ones. They're made of wood, and they just put galvanized nails in so that it will not rust. I saw one today that had pegs in a piece of 1x2 that were about every 3 inches apart. This is my frame. My husband made this up for me. This is the small pieces left over. I actually had 3-foot pieces, and a friend of mine wanted one, so I said, let's make it 18-inch pieces because you can make smaller pieces and they're more stable. But this is what I would use to sew something on. The other thing you would need is water. You either need a dish to put your whole thing in and soak it. Soak it really, really good. The other option is just spray it. This is particularly good with fine lace because there is more open space than there is yarn. But it does work on this as well, and it usually doesn't take as long for it to dry. If you're going to get it all wet, you don't want to spread it out, soaking wet and dripping. So you put it in a towel. You're going to wrap it up in the towel and you're going to squeeze it. You never twist your knitting. So this gets most of the moisture out of it before you put it out. You can also use a wool wash. This one, there's also a soap. There's anything that you think is good for it. I have heard Woolite is not really designed anymore for our hand knits, for our natural fibers. That's the reason these have come out. You need a measuring tape. If you have something square, you want to make it square. If you have something that is supposed to match, like a sweater, and you're supposed to be matching a given dimension, this is handy. It doesn't have to be this type, any type you have so that you can measure it. I like this one because I can set it out and leave it there and then move it from one place to another. Pins. We have, take one of yours out. This set of pins. With these, we have a curve in this. This works better than trying to put a wire in. And you can also use any pins. I just recommend not the ones that have the little tiny top. We have the T-pin, and we have the ones with a pearl head, or there are some that are plastic that have a round top. You're going to be poking this with your finger. It gets awfully sore if you're usually using sewing pins. So these are a good alternative because you've got something you can really work with.
They also need to be stainless steel.
Yes, you don't want them rusting. And that's what mine with the pearl on are all from corsages. So we know those aren't going to rust. Okay. All right. Then we have the wires. All three of these come in a set. This is a thin one. I also have some that are much thicker than this. They do have some give to them, so if you have a gentle curve, works fine. But if you have something that's a little curvier, this one is bendable to match the curve that you need. With this, all you need to do is to put it in your item. Here's the control. What you would do is you would find your points, and you're going to put this in to your point on a shawl, or you're going to go every inch or so on a flat side, and this is going to then pull these out, and you would do that on each side. Since this is a triangular, I would have one for each side and probably two on the bottom because it's that big. But when you get this and start spreading it out, can you see? Can I see through there? See, there is a pattern in there that you cannot see without blocking. So that's what the wires are for. Another question, or a couple of questions here. When you weave in your ends, before or after? Usually you want to do it after, because you're going to be stretching something out, and if you've locked in that end, it's not going to give, and it could pull in wherever that is. So if you do it afterwards, you have it all blocked out, and you know that what you are weaving it into is not going to change size. Another one is you're making a sweater. You have 5 parts. Do you block the parts, or do you block the whole thing? Well, if you block it in parts, you then have nice straight edges to seam together. But your seams may not be too clean, so you may have to block those as well. So those are the options for whether or not you do the part or the whole. Something else that you can use is steam. How many of you remember these things? You do not want to use this straight on to your fabric. If it's a man-made fabric, it's going to burn it. It's going to melt it. You don't want that. You don't want to do that to your natural fibers either. You can actually kill it by having hot steam and pressure. So what you do instead is you take a damp towel and you put it over your knitting. Then you take this, not at the highest speed, and you simply run it over without pressure.
Steam or no steam?
Your choice. If you have steam, you don't need to wet this as much. But this is going to create the steam with the heat. The other thing you can do is you can go to Amazon and type in home steamer. I have one that was too big to bring. It's about like this, about the size of a small vacuum, with a hose. I put my item out and I run this over it. With man-made fibers, this will help. This is one that got steamed, but it's not enough. I was trying to keep this from getting pressed down too much, since it's a Mobius. But it would help to open this. It did help to open this up because of the way it's constructed. So that's an option, and the steamer. I have a friend who has one that's actually like a ironing board with a huge tank that provides steam. And she loves that. Okay. All right. Like I said, you're going to soak the item. The best way to do this is in a large container. Now, I have a little white piece up here. I used a little itty bitty bowl. But if you're going to do a blanket, you may have to find a dishpan or a bathtub for something that's really, really big. One of the things to do is check for bleeding. You're going to do that before you knit. Something like this, you're going to worry about the red and the blue. How do you know if it's going to bleed or not? It's called swatching. Anything you knit, you make a swatch and you treat it the same way you're going to treat it after you've knit the item. So you wash it and you block it to see what it's going to do. And probably the better thing to do with these is to make small swatches of the colors you're going to worry about. Don't put it next to your white fabric color, your light color either. So that's one. If it tends to bleed, you can treat the whole skein with a vinegar to help set it. And there are other products also that will set the color. Saturation works better for heavier items than just a steam or a spray. When you're dealing with something lightweight, like this, just a spritz usually is enough. But if you have white and your hand's a little bit dirty at some point, you may want to soak it just to get it clean. Okay, I already showed that. The pinning, you only need to do the wires at certain points. When you come up, we have a wire in this that only has 3 pins holding it. But you can see how many other pins are on the curves. And again, you're going to measure according to evenness. In other words, you want both sides to be the same on a shawl, from the center to the edges. You're going to leave it to dry. One of the things I heard, I had a class with somebody who judged for master class. Master class requires you to do some research, do some knitting, turn in some swatches. The last part, you have to make a sweater. Well, you know, most people that are doing this are not going to make an adult sweater, they're going to make a child sweater because they have to send it in to be judged. So he was telling about someone who made a sweater, probably a cream colored, it was for a child size. She got it all ready and she went to block it and she said, okay, it's nice outside, I'm going to put it outside on the picnic table. She forgot the mulberries were in season. And she had birds. They decided they'd judge it anyway because they could still see the work that went into it. But it definitely was stained. Something else I saw just recently, somebody made a queen size coverlet. They couldn't put it on the bed. They didn't have a floor. So they went out on the beach and got nice long stakes to pin it out in the sand, about this far above the sand. So that is another option. Okay, let's see what's next on here. Okay, this again shows you the big difference. This is a shawl. Do you want to turn the light out for this? Thank you. This is a shawl that I knitted. This is before it's blocked. I got it laying out to block. Next picture. This is blocked. it grew a whole bunch. Because of that, you don't really want to hang your knits up. They will continue to grow in some cases. I know I participate with the Weavers Guild, and to show things best, we hang them up, but it bothers me every time I do that, thinking it's not really good for it. All right, and the next one then? Okay. This is my frame. This is nice and big. Can you help? Because the frame has two 3-foot sections and a 1-foot section along one side. I could not have done this on a bed. I don't have, well, my bed has air in it, so I couldn't use it anyway. And if you think about going around on the floor and trying to measure this, it would be difficult to do. But that is the reason this kind of thing, they do make the frames like this, but instead of being solid corners, they have them loose so you can make it the size you want. And what they usually do then is they would sew something through each one of these little points with yarn between them so that those could go over the number of different pegs. So this one would have been very difficult to do because there are so many points on it. But for my solution, does anybody recognize these? Shower curtain holders. So I put the wires into the shawl, and they go on here. This part goes over the frame. And I have used it for a round tablecloth, and I simply sewed it on into a point around the frame, into a point around the frame. 6-foot square. That was my first time, and it was a lot of fun. I just took a class on Shetland lace, and she showed doing one where she put it into the points that were about 3 inches apart. And she used a cotton thread, like a number 10 crochet thread, that she went around it. I have actually used dental floss, which doesn't have a tendency to break. And as long as it's not waxed and doesn't have a smell to it, it's okay to use on your fabric, on your items. So, and this, somebody brought this in. Now, this is not real lace. Well, let's turn it around. We've got some cables in here. How many of you have made cables? They usually have 1 or 2 purl stitches on either side. And they really show up and pop if you stretch that out. Because that's the way the cables work. So this is really a good item to block. And this is her blocked swatch. The other thing that this shows you is how much bigger it gets when you block it. Because it has a tendency to pull in. Did I get everything? Do you want to have any questions?
Is it ever unnecessary to block an item? Not lace work, but sweaters or of course scarves.
Depends on the fiber too. I would not block this. This is going to be a poncho. But you can't even really see the stitches on this. There's a little bit of lace, but it's heavy enough that I think it's going to pull out. The other thing I don't do, and I don't know how many of you can see, my socks. I do not block my socks because I'm wearing them. I'm not presenting them to anybody. So even though they don't seem as even when I put them on, my feet do a pretty good job of blocking them. John blocks his socks often.
Depending on the pattern of the sock, whether it has color work. Yeah, I sometimes block my socks if there are color work with hot pepper socks that I made, showed last week. I had to block those because otherwise the yarn just wouldn't relax. When there are cables, I will also block to make sure that those cables pop. If it's just a basic stockinette, I just lay it flat, wash it, lay it flat, and then those stitches relax just as well. So it just depends on the nature of the sock, the design, the patterns. I never block ribbon because that is designed to maintain that stretchiness. And once you block it out, it's going to lose some of that ability to withstand.
That's why if you're blocking a sweater that has ribbing on it, you probably don't want to pin that out too much. You want to get it lengthwise for your garment, but you don't want to block it open.
Do you ever consider, I've only done it once, but on that big rectangle, folding it in half, putting a wire at the halfway point, and then just meeting up each side, so you're only pinning half of your garment or half of your shawl?
That works except for the wire in the middle where you folded it. That's too sharp of a corner. So I use the piece of plastic pipe. Or you could roll a towel up with it.
Sit it out.
Yes, that would work. And the same could be true if you have two sweater pieces that are the same size. You could pin those together.
I was gonna say, ours is right there. Yeah.
It depends on the fiber. If you're going to machine wash it, because it's man-made and it will wash, what they recommend is that you partially dry it. While it's still damp, take it out of the dryer, or if it's damp enough from the washer, lay it flat to finish the drying. Now, remember, they're not going to remember, the man-made fiber's not going to remember your initial blocking. So this is going to help it lay flat when you want to wear it and do things with it. If it's a natural fiber, it probably will remember, but it's still better to dry it flat. I don't care how you wash it, you're going to mess it up some. So, but you can look at it and see if it needs to be pinned out again. But usually, how many times do you wash things? My large shawl has not been washed since I made it and blocked it. It's about time for it. But I have not done that, and that's true of most things. You don't wear them next to your body very often unless it's a sweater. So maybe you want to make sure a sweater is washable instead of having to treat it hand washed and locked. Any other questions?
Just a contribution. I'm nowhere close to blocking things with trade expertise, but I did hear on a podcast that sometimes these people, when they knit a sweater, say for a youngster or even for themselves, sometimes they don't like having the side seam being distinct like this, so they get pool needles to make it round instead of flat.
Pool needles. Make what?
Pool needles?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the same thing of using my plastic pipe. My PVC pipe would also not make it.
They say they like it because they can cut it to the right length, it's cheap. If you need smaller, you can go to the hardware store. I'm not sure what it is exactly. But anyway, if it annoys you to have that kind of line in your sweater.
Right, and that would also apply for folding something in half. And that also happened, I have a round shawl that would not fit. It probably would have fit if I tried to pin it right, but it didn't want to flatten out enough for me. So I should have put something in there and folded it in half. Any other questions? If not, Pam has pinned something out in the back if you'd like to go watch. She's blocking something that she has. And you can come up and take a look at any of these supplies we have up here. And you can answer any other questions that you may have. The last picture on there. Oh, I forgot this one. This has just a little bit of lace in it. Man-made mostly, Lining Brand Easy, Woolies. But I did this because I'm presenting it as a gift, so it evened out the stitches. And it also made it look really square. Rectangular, but still. And that's what I'm wearing. Before I tried to block it, it just would not stay down here. It wanted to curl up into very, very tight space. That's it.
All right.